guys, welcome back to the But It's Not That Serious podcast. Today I have my wonderful older sister with me.
Hello.
Yes. So I'm just gonna kind of go over, I have a couple questions ready for her and some like talking points. But first I want you to do an introduction. So hello, who are you? And what do you do?
Hi. My name is Minji. I am Michelle's older sister. Currently living in Chicago, finishing out my medicine residency.
Amazing. How old are you?
I am turning 29 soon.
Hell yeah. So she is 4 years older than me. She's my only sibling that I have. I don't have any other else brothers and sisters, so it's literally just me and her. Basically, she's my American mom is what I wrote down here. Is because
I have never heard you say that.
well, I consider you kind of like a mother figure because I feel like when we're in the States, like
honored.
Our mom can only do so much because she can't speak English, and so like things like FAFSA and stuff, she did all of it. I don't know how to do that, so she does. But yeah, basically the goal of this podcast episode, I would like to, because she is a doctor, kind of go through like basics of medicine and like going through that process. But also as a person, especially that has like no idea about the medical path, just like kind of get the throwdown of like what exactly the basics are. And then also for anyone that actually does know a little bit about medicine, maybe if you could like give some words of advice or like pros and cons, things like that. So I have all of that ready, but me and her, we live apart right now, but I think we still maintain contact, especially about a few things. So recently, as everybody knows, the Dodgers had won the World Series. Woo!
Yeah, go Dodgers!
So as you can see, we are both avid fans. I definitely became a fan because she is so passionate. How did you get into that in the first place?
It was the 2017 World Series with the cheating Astros, and I got hooked. They had a crazy series that went all the way to Game 7.
Yeah.
And after that, I got curious about the game of baseball, and I just started watching regularly, and I got hooked.
Who showed you in the first place?
I think it was our uncle.
Oh.
I remember watching it in our uncle's place.
Yeah.
And then just getting really into it.
That's true. With I don't know what they had. They had like a platform thing, like a semi-platform.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wild. That was a wild one to
I blame
begin
them
with.
for our toxic relationship.
Was that Bellinger's rookie year?
I think so.
Right?
I look back.
Because he got rookie of the year or something, right?
Right. Because I think Seager was rookie of the year the year before, 2016, and then.
Oh yeah, no, that was a crazy, crazy year.
Yeah.
And they got gypped of the World Series title. Yeah. And then in 2020 they had a controversial win, and then this time around they got their deserved, well-earned. Everybody.
Woo!
Yeah. No, but honestly, I think the craziest part of that last game was definitely that fifth inning, where the Yankees totally messed up 3 times, in a row, basically.
I don't even know if it was 3 times, because it was Aaron Judge's missed ball, Garrett Cole's and Rizzo's
and then,
first base thing.
Yeah, and the third base.
Volpe and Chisholm. That's true. Maybe it is 3.
There was also kind of that
the catcher's interference, a couple innings.
Catcher's interference, and then I think Verdugo also went overboard or something. Was that?
I don't know.
Game
I don't
5?
quite understand that part.
Yeah, but that was Game 5.
Yeah,
right?
that was Game 5.
Yeah, but basically the Yankees lost, and they really fucked up in the 5th inning, and that led us to tie the game in the 5th inning, and then eventually getting one more run in the next inning, I believe, in the 6th or 7th.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then we had to close it out, and then that's when Robert sent out Buehler.
In the last inning.
And then he closed it out like a champ. Mm-hmm. Ugh. And then Freddie Freeman.
I know.
What
What a hero.
What a golden boy in
Yeah.
my heart. But we're super, super happy. I am looking to get a jersey. I know you are too.
Yeah.
Are you still looking to get the World Champ series or the World Series?
So the youth boys one
Do they
does
have a
have
series one?
I don't think it's exactly similar to the adult
Yeah.
one, but it did have like a World Series logo.
Did you buy it?
I didn't buy it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I really want one too. I'm thinking either between the blue one, like the true blue, like Dodger blue one, or the like white one.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure like who to get, like maybe Kershaw. But if anyone's wondering, we actually know the game. Do we like know the game? Not really. Can we watch a full game and enjoy the whole thing? Yes. So, if anyone wants to watch a baseball game with us,
Yeah. We're not fake fans. We're
Yeah.
actual real fans.
like we'll sit down and actually watch and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
So we're not just there for vibes and beer and hot dogs.
Yeah.
Like we're there to actually watch the
Watch
game
the
and watch
game.
them win. So if anybody wants to go to a Dodger game with us, please invite me or her. I don't know. We're always down. I wanted to go so bad, but the World Series tickets were like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you have
So.
to sell your kidney basically to get
No,
those
legit.
tickets.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then the other thing that me and her really bond over on a yearly basis is something called the Boysenberry Festival. If you guys don't
best.
know that, so for anyone living in California or like Southern California, I'm pretty sure you know what Knott's Berry Farm is. If you live in the Bay, it's basically the Great America equivalent. Oh. Harvey! Hey! Yeah, so every year around the months of like March, April, they'll have a Boysenberry Festival, which lasts like a couple weeks, I think. And they celebrate the origin of their theme park, which is the Boysenberry, which I believe is between a raspberry and a blackberry.
No. It's like some niche berries. I don't remember exactly. We should know this by heart now, honestly. It's kind
This
of
is true.
embarrassing.
Maybe we're fake fans here,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, we talk about it year round. This is something where we are currently at the park enjoying the Boysenberry Festival, and we actively plan for the next year's Boysenberry Festival. How did we even get into? I think
it was like the BuzzFeed video.
Yeah, the BuzzFeed video with Shane and Ryan, which I know they are also passionate about the Boysenberry Festival.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people, when they see us enjoy it and when they see other people enjoy it, they're kind of like, so what is going on at the Boysenberry Festival?
Yeah.
It seems kind of cultish because it is.
Yeah. You have to commit to the bit. okay?
Exactly.
That is the point of the Boysenberry Festival.
We have like merch arsenal building up. So I have 2 shirts. We both have 2 shirts.
Yeah.
And then we both have a beanie
Yeah.
of some sort.
Yeah.
Next year in March or April, we were looking to get a purse.
Yeah, I want a
believe.
purse.
Well, another shirt.
The shirt is
That's
a
the
must-have.
basic.
Every year. A new shirt. We go in with the last year's shirt and we come out with this
Yes.
year's shirt.
And then I specifically am looking for a berry pie hat.
Yeah.
Which is another
that's a good
hat,
one.
but it's like, I didn't see it last year and I was really sad about it.
Yeah.
So if it's not here this year, I'll be sad about it.
Yeah.
But I think if there isn't a hat, I'll probably get a purse as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe like one of the more like expensive long sleeves.
yeah.
But
Love it.
we shall see.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, if you don't know what the Boysenberry Festival is, basically they celebrate their berry, and you get to buy these like tasting cards, which come with like 7 or 8 different coupons, which you could submit, and then you get to taste one of their like special food items, and all of them are Boysenberry themed. So they have like Boysenberry last like a couple years ago. So we've been like what, 2 or 3 times?
We went twice.
We went twice now, with growing love every time. But some of my like highlight favorites, I think, were the Boysenberry Pozole. Great start to the morning. And then they had Boysenberry
Beignets.
beignets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
So good.
And there's like always things that we don't try.
Yeah.
So like they have the menu up on their website every year, and we like plan it. We plan ahead, and we're like, we need to hit this and this and this, and then usually I feel like we end up having a couple extra. So then we'll use those to get like drinks maybe.
Yeah.
So they also have like alcoholic drinks, but like non-alcoholic as well.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm planning on filming another podcast there, actually, but it's not going to be a podcast. It's like a podcast mukbang kind of mix.
We will be rating the food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for anybody that actually follows my sister on Instagram, when we go to the Boysenberry Festival, her Instagram story is very popular amongst her friends because she rates every single thing that we eat. And her friends are now asking to be invited to our excursions, but we're like, no, this is a family thing.
This is a sacred family event.
Yeah. We do have a new addition this year. It's our father. Yeah. We are dragging our dad to the Boysenberry Festival. And our goal for there this year is to take the Western style family photo.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be the most hilarious thing ever, of like seeing our dad in like colonialism America clothing.
It's not colonial period. It's like the gold rush period, I feel like.
I don't know what's wetter. But yeah, super, super excited. And I hope you guys are too. But anyway, I'm going to start getting into the meat of things. This is like the stuff we like to talk about. We're going to start talking about things we don't really like talking about. But she does know a lot about the medical field because she's been in it for what, like too long. Too many years, ever since friggin' college. But yeah, that's kind of a good way to start this, actually. So can you kind of tell us, like, considering everything before attending, which, like, if you guys don't know, attending is kind of like when you're a doctor, right?
Yeah, you're finished with training and you're practicing independently.
Yeah, like you're looked to by the residents and the fellows, and like you're supposed to know the answers. So basically, considering everything before attending is like quote unquote schooling. Mm-hmm. Can you like tell us from maybe like or like college, beginning of college to before attending, like what's the order of everything and like what happens?
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to start this talk, though, by giving a disclaimer that my opinions are not reflective of my current institutions. But anyways.
Digital footprint.
Yeah, digital footprint. Just saying. Because I'm easily searchable. Every resident is very easily searchable, which is very, very scary. So just putting that out there. But in general, so you go through 3 to 4 years of college, depending on how fast you get things done. And during that time, you have to commit to a bunch of pre-med requisites. So there's like required number of classes that you have to take. And that includes things like general chemistry, organic chemistry, like physics, biology, etc.
Are you labeled as pre-med when you're there?
So it depends on your university.
Okay.
Yeah, some universities have like a designated like pre-med track. UCLA is just such a big public institution with so many pre-meds that we just label ourselves as pre-med. But if you're doing these requisites, people will just generally know that you're pre-med. And like a lot of the science classes or science majors at UCLA end up fulfilling a lot of these pre-med prerequisites anyway. Yeah. I was saying requisites. I meant prerequisites. So yeah, you have to, like, you don't even have to be a science major. You can be any major you want, but you just have to fulfill these particular courses. That is pretty standard across all medical school institutions. So some people honestly find their way to medicine a lot later. Mm-hmm. Like they've already graduated college, they've had a whole nother career, and then they decide that that's not their path and they want to pursue medicine. So they can pursue these things through community colleges, post-bac programs, master's programs, etc.
What percentage would you say, like, of med students are like older than pre-med, like post-bachelor's?
I can't give you exact numbers.
But is there like a good presence?
But I think so. And it's getting a lot more so we label them as like non-traditional students. And I think that number is growing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as people like take more years off, or because getting into like medical school now and getting into your top residency is getting rougher and rougher, which honestly doesn't really make too much sense in my head, but it is what it is. Like people literally have to cure cancer these days to like get into medical school.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically you have to complete these courses, and then before you apply to med school, or as like close as you are to applying to med school, you have to get the MCAT done, which is a very, very difficult test. I think looking back, if you told me to take the MCAT now, I would desperately fail. Like, I don't remember anything from chemistry or like physics or anything like that. So yeah, you have to take the MCAT, score reasonably well, and then
What's
you
like
have
a good score?
It's hard to say. I think for like MD programs, I feel like having at least like a 5.10 and above, and like it also does depend on like what sort of ethnicity you are as well.
Sadly.
Yeah, but generally, I feel like if you have like a 5.10 and above, you should be okay for like MD schools. DO schools, I think, have like a lower standard, and also like the Caribbean schools. I don't even know how the Caribbean schools work. Like, do they even need to take the MCAT? I have no idea.
They do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but you have to take the MCAT, do okay on it, and then apply to medical school, which is a whole process in itself, consisting of like primary applications, and then you have to wait for the secondary applications, and then you have to interview, and then hopefully you get in.
What are the interviews like, just briefly?
This was also very, very many years ago now.
True.
We're talking like nearly a decade ago now.
8 or 9 years ago.
But when I did interviews, I mean, it was like basic stuff like tell me about yourself. And then when you turn in your application, you obviously have a lot of extracurriculars that you have to do. And they talk about your extracurriculars. So yeah, during like right before you get into med school too, you have to do a lot of extracurriculars kind of it's hard to set yourself apart, because I feel like everyone kind of does the same thing. Like they kind of have to check certain boxes. But generally the categories in which people do extracurriculars is like research is a big one now, especially now. So whether that be like wet lab research or like clinical research, you have to do some sort of scholarly work. And then there's like volunteering at the hospital. There's also some like service-oriented volunteer activities. Yeah, so at one point, like during my undergraduate career, I felt like I was like school was like a side thing, and I was more so focused on my extracurriculars.
What about like GPA? Like, how much does that matter?
GPA also matters, because honestly, like, how can these programs look at things like and GPAs, MCAT scores, etc. Honestly, there's a lot of inequities tied to those too. So I'm saying objective as a very loose term, because I know that it's not technically very objective, but it's like numbers that these institutions can use.
Yeah. Because I feel like no matter what you put on your resume or whatever, like they just don't. They need some kind of baseline.
Yeah.
So like those kind of serve as your baseline there.
Yeah. And then they also look at like not just your overall GPA, but they look at your science GPA. So you have to take that into consideration too. So I ended up choosing like an easier science major to boost up my science GPA so that I can get into med school. Okay.
What was your major?
I was just biology at UCLA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of like evolution classes.
I thought you were like ecology or something.
Yeah, it was like ecology something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
I honestly don't remember what any of that means. Yeah.
Plants.
Yeah. Yeah, I did like a tropical ecology class.
I remember you liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. So yeah, that's like getting into med school, and then med school is like 4 years. Generally, either like the first year or like the first and second year is like, you know, you're just studying the books, getting all your clinical studying kind of done, and then my third year consisted of like going into actual clinical rotations, where I rotated through all the different clerkships. So like whether that be internal medicine, general surgery, family medicine, psychiatry, neurology, etc. You rotate through all of these services, and it gives you like exposure to different specialties, so you know which one to apply into. And then B, I think it provides for a more like well-rounded education for all doctors.
Is that considered your intern year?
No, so that's just your clerkships. So when people refer to like third year medical students, it's usually like their clerkships. Now my school changed, so they do like first year like book studying, and then they do their clerkships on their second year.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I didn't know
changed
that.
recently, and then their third year is like a research year. to boost your application for residency. Yeah, research is becoming a very strong emphasis.
Even like in pre-med too, and then in med school too?
Yeah. No, just like academia in general, research
Oh.
is king.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then their fourth year is so fourth year is usually when you're applying to residency and you do something called sub-Is or sub-internships. So you're basically acting as an intern. So an intern is a first-year resident. So they are doctors, but they're called interns. I think it's like a historical terminology.
Okay.
Because I think residency in the years past used to be it's still very much like an apprenticeship sort of model. So I think it's like a historical lingo to call first-year residents interns. So that's why it's called sub-internships during your fourth year. And you're basically auditioning sort of for your future career. So by fourth year, you kind of have to know what specialty you want to pursue. So I did like a medicine sub-I because I knew I wanted to be an internal medicine doctor. And some people don't know. So they end up doing sub-Is in multiple specialties. And then that's how it helps them choose, because as sub-I, so as third years, the responsibilities are less. Like you're just dipping your feet into and getting to know things. But as sub-Is, you're like acting as a resident. So you're like pending orders. You're writing all the notes. You're seeing your patients with the senior resident and not like with your interns. Whereas like as the third years, they see patients with the interns.
Just for clarity, what is internal medicine?
So internal medicine, like I feel like in TV and whatnot, what is really broadcasted is the surgery folks.
We're talking Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, like Grey's Anatomy. Just like in general, I feel like, I mean, it seems more interesting. But if you really think about it, a lot of the diseases that comes through the ER, like yes, there's a lot of surgical patients, but a big chunk of patients that come into the hospital are here for very much medicine reasons. So internal medicine encompasses both like primary care. So the doctors you see that are like your PCPs, if you want to be a PCP, you have to apply either as family medicine or as internal medicine.
Okay.
And then also internal medicine encompasses hospitalist work. So that's people who are admitted to the hospital for medicine reasons. The internal medicine doctors or the hospitalists take care of those patients. So, and the things that we see, that we commonly see as part of internal medicine doctors inside the hospital are things like heart failure exacerbations. People come in very fluid overloaded because their heart is not pumping right. We also see a lot of COPD exacerbations. And then we also see
what
things.
What is COPD?
COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So people who like smoke, etc., if they have things like bronchitis or emphysema, the umbrella term is COPD. So sometimes they come in with exacerbations and they need nebulizer treatments. Or let's see, some other common things that come through our doors is like if they have like issues with their diabetes or they have like kidney failure. Like cancer patients we also see, pneumonias, like cellulitis, like skin infections, bone infections, like a lot of the common infections that don't require surgical management. Those are the ones we handle. I take a lot of pride in my work as an internal medicine doctor because, to be honest with you, like the surgeons get all the fame and the glitz, but at least in our hospital and in many hospitals, the ones who run the code blues, not in the ORs, but on the floors, are the medicine doctors. And if you want to be a cardiologist, a gastroenterologist, a pulm crit doctor, ICU doctor, an infectious disease specialist, endocrinologist, etc., you have to do an internal medicine residency for 3 years first, and then apply into those fellowships. So all the cardiologists that you see, et cetera, they were once internal medicine doctors, and they still are.
Are internal medicine doctors also the ones that kind of refer them to specialties? Like, does it start at internal medicine, and then, like, if they get diagnosed with something, like, you guys are the ones that kind of send them elsewhere? Or can that be done anywhere?
So anyone can technically refer. It also depends on your, like, insurance and everything.
Yeah.
But generally, when you come through your PCP, who's an internal medicine doctor, they will place referrals to see these other subspecialties. Yeah.
Okay.
So fellowship is basically when you subspecialize. So I'm pursuing now a fellowship in infectious diseases. So I'm finishing up my 3 years of internal medicine residency, and I'm going to do another 2 to 3 years of infectious disease fellowship so that I can become an infectious disease attending.
What is after attending?
There's nothing after an attending.
Unless you want to get into like business or management, right?
No, I mean, there's still attendings. Like, if you're just done with training, they're just called attendings. You can take on other roles as part of your job, like working in admin, working in med ed, etc. But there's no, like, other title. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why are you choosing ID again? Infectious
disease. So, infectious disease, I think, is the best field. I am a more cerebral person, so I don't like doing things with my hands, hence why I went into medicine and not surgery. And hence why I'm not going into things like cardiology or pulm crit or gastroenterology, because I don't want to be scoping people, etc., putting in lines, etc. So I like the puzzles, the diagnostic dilemmas of infectious disease. And I feel like when I was growing up and I thought about who was a doctor, like looking at things, people like House and whatnot, figuring out these like crazy infections, like that's what interested me the most. And also like the bond you develop with some of these patients, because the ID docs are the ones who primarily take care of our HIV population. And truly, like, the bond that they develop with folks who have HIV is really special. So I really like infectious disease. I think it's the most interesting. Nice. I don't think I'll get bored with this profession. So, and just, there's a lot you can do with infectious disease, too. So, like, the most famous infectious disease doctors that people will probably know is Dr. Fauci.
COVID guy.
Yeah. So, if that gives you any clue into what ID docs do. And ID docs get all the goss. Because we have to ask things like, do you have pets? Because pets, like animals, are exposures. Have you gone traveling recently? Do you have any water exposure? Have you had sex with new partners? Like, you get all the hot goss.
And like bioterrorism and stuff
as
like that.
ID docs. Yeah, exactly. Like anthrax, plague, all of that. It's like bioterrorism. And if there's like a new pandemic coming up, like we're on the forefront, like, trying to figure that out.
CDC, great example.
Yeah, like the CDC has a lot of ID. It's mostly ID. And yeah. So
interesting.
ID is the best. And it's very, compensation is poor, I do have to admit. It is. You are doing 2 to 3 years of extra training for possibly less pay than being a hospitalist, which is very sad.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'll enjoy the work more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in general, this is probably true for any job, literally any job, but it's about what you prioritize.
Yeah.
Within your job. And I think like in any job, including doctors, like some aspects are very much similar. So it's like the people that you work with, the pay, how much work-life balance you have. Like these are all universal things, like no matter what job you're going to have. So it's really about what you prioritize. So definitely like if you're pursuing medicine, just look into what different specialties mean in terms of like those things. But speaking of different specialties,
let me finish the whole like timeline thing first.
Oh, there's more. Okay, keep going.
So basically, I think I went to like, you apply to like residency, and then like that in itself is like a whole nother process. So like 4th year, you're applying to residency, you do your sub-Is, and then you kind of chill at the end of the year because you match at like March or so, March, April, and then usually like late June to early July is when all the new residents start. So all the new interns start. And then usually, like for medicine, we apply into our fellowships at the beginning of 3rd year because our match day, and match is like a whole process in itself.
Yeah.
But our match day is December. And so just like giving you a little preface about how match is, it's like a big, apparently an award-winning algorithm. We submit rank lists on all the interviews that we did. And then the programs also rank all of their applicants, and then the computer algorithm matches us up to an institution. So it's not like your regular old job interview where if you get accepted into like 3 different places, you can pick and choose. There is nothing like that. There is a match week during medical school where on a Monday, you know whether you matched or not. And if you didn't, you enter into this brutal system called the SOAP program where you scramble and try to find a program. And then on like a Friday or so, it's actually like match day, and you figure out where you're going. And it's like a binding contract, so you have to go there.
Yeah, you get into one place and you have to go there.
Yeah. Or else you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get matched into a residency. You start like July 1st or so. And then as I said before, I applied into fellowship now, beginning of third year. And it's the same thing. But this time around, there is no Monday where I find out whether I matched or not. I just find out where I matched and if I matched.
That's brutal.
December 4th.
So some people find out if they don't get matched the same day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a celebration for that as well, for fellowship matching?
Our institution's doing something in the evening, but it's very institution-based. Yeah. And then after your residency's done, and for like surgical specialties, a lot of them are like at least 5 years. My friend's doing a general surgery residency, and it's 7 years. So,
oh my God.
And apparently now she has to do a fellowship too. So she's literally training for a decade.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
She'll be like maybe like late 30s, 40s by the time she's in attending and making good money.
It's brutal.
Because like, just letting you know, as residents, for some reason, they think it's warranted that they pay us very little. Mm-hmm. Like my salary right now, this is all searchable on the internet, is like $79K as a third-year medicine resident, where I am basically acting independently.
Yeah. And that's like the regular range, right? Like 70 to 90?
I think I'm on the higher range.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, 79,000, which, you know, for a lot of people that is a lot of money, but honestly, for people who have a doctorate's degree, is not that much money.
Yeah, and we're like, definitely later you'll probably mention it again, because I will be asking about the cons of like going through this process, but like that's crazy, guys. Like they're saving lives literally, and they're working 80-hour weeks or something sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And they're getting paid like twice or half the amount of like someone that went into like software engineering.
Yeah. And like the thing is, like, I at most work like maybe 80 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Surgical residents, they have to lie about it, honestly, because they more often than not, because they're working like 36s, like 28s on the regular, they work like 100 plus hours, honestly.
Yeah.
A week.
When we say they're lying, I mean, by law, they should be working less than that. And so they clock in less than they're actually working.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So
we get paid less than minimum wage.
Literally.
With more degrees than most of the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just think about like how detrimental that is to your health, just mental, physical, everything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Exactly.
That's rough. You're literally living there. You're living, sleeping, breathing there.
That's why we were called residents, because in the past people used to reside in the hospital.
I mean, you might as well be residing, because you live literally like 5-minute walk away or something. Although maybe that was by choice.
Yeah, more by choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's basically the medical journey.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind detailing kind of like where you went, because I don't think we mentioned, she went to UCLA for pre-med. She also went to UCLA for med school. And then we had hoped that she would go to UCLA for her residency, but she actually ended up in Northwestern. Mm-hmm. And then, are you allowed to share your ranking list?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had ranked Stanford first, UCLA second, though last minute I was like, dang it, I should have ranked UCLA first. And then Northwestern was my third, and then I ended up matching at my number 3. And I honestly think was the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah, no, we were all kind of worried about it. Crazy. So hilarious. We're actually going to Disneyland tomorrow. And she actually found out she was going to Northwestern in Disneyland because she did not attend her own like matching ceremony. Because she was like, "F it, like I don't want to be with everybody when like we hear about it." So we were in line for Space Mountain. We were kind of stuck because it wasn't like it was broken for a sec. And then we found out. So me and my mom, who were there at the time, and we all thought like, "Oh, she's probably gonna just go to UCLA." But then we found out that you were going to Chicago.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of like stunned because, like me, you had never lived outside of SoCal, let alone LA. So, like, we didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
We were like, what do you mean you have to go to Chicago?
I know. Like, how to move.
Yeah, literally, like, how to move.
Yeah.
But now it's, like, really cool because now I have some place to visit kind of on a regular basis. So I've now, like, I think if you had not gone to Chicago, I would not have ever really gone, except for, like, maybe once in a lifetime. Yeah. But now I probably go, like, at least once a year.
Yeah, at least once a year. Yeah.
I'm going this December.
Yeah. Chicago's the best city in the world.
It's cold, though.
So clean. It's so beautiful. Like, things are so accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you guys have never been there, I would say it's probably the hub of, like, American architecture. Yeah. So they have something called an architecture boat tour, which I highly, highly recommend.
Yeah.
It's not even that expensive.
No, it's like $50 a person.
I paid like $30.
Yeah, 30 to 50. Yeah.
Honestly, one of the best tours ever.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like one of those like tourist things that are not actually like that. That's actually like worth the hype. Yeah.
It's very interactive, and I don't know, kind of a tangent,
just beautiful.
But I love it. Yeah. So definitely when the weather's good.
Chicago summers are unbeatable. Like the lake, also phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for your fellowship, you are hoping to come back, I believe.
Yeah, I hope to come back. I am ready to be with family again and enjoy the Asian food of Los Angeles.
But as with any matching process, we'll have to just see where this ends up.
Yeah, we'll find out December 4th.
Who knows? You might end up at Georgia.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very, very true.
If you guys don't know, the CDC is actually in Atlanta, right? And they have a very highly prestigious school called Emory. Or not school, hospital. Research Institute?
No, Emory is a university, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's called, it's Emory. So, and then before we kind of move on from, like, the school stuff, if you don't mind asking, what was your application like to get into med school?
What was my application like getting into med school?
Like, what did you do? Like, extracurriculars, grades?
Yeah. So, just to be, like, fully transparent / I don't give a fuck now. Because it's literally
way beyond this.
Been a decade ago, and I feel like the landscape has now changed, so I don't know if, like, my advice is too relevant now.
But I think if anything, it's only gotten harder.
Yeah, it's gotten
maybe
so much harder.
Would create a good like baseline.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think my like GPA was like 3.8 something. I was a biology major, as mentioned before, and then I took all my pre-med prerequisites. And then I ended up doing. So I did like hospital volunteering at a hospital called St. Francis. And I took on like leadership roles then too. It was actually a pretty cool experience, I think, both as a volunteer and as a leader. Much more interactive and hands-on than what was offered at Ronald Reagan when I was a pre-med student. So I really enjoyed that. It was hard, but I enjoyed it. And then I did research at a urology wet lab.
It was a urology?
Yeah. Studying like bladder cancer.
Yeah.
Some very niche like.
I remember you just washed dishes a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it, honestly. I didn't know what I was doing, and I feel like.
Hey, anything for the resume, for the application.
Yeah, and I got like a poster out of it, I guess. But I wasn't like too productive with it, despite being in that lab for 4 years, unfortunately. Because it was like a very small lab too, so I think it was just hard for everybody. But the people were great. And then I also, a big part of my resume, and still to this day, what I think fondly and I'm very proud of is my institution, my program called Camp Med, where we served like underserved high school students to inspire them into like careers in healthcare. So we invited people from all different like professions within healthcare to come and speak, lead workshops, and then just develop really good mentorship with the college students at UCLA and these high school students.
You made that club?
I didn't make it. It was already there, but I ended up becoming like a director for it for 2 years, running it, trying to fundraise money and whatnot. So it was just like a big part of I think that was like the big part of my resume / undergraduate career, and I still really, really think fondly of it to this day.
I remember all the trials and tribulations of that.
Truly. I was like ill.
She put a lot of time into it, even I remember.
Yeah.
So.
But truly, I think if I match back to UCLA, I want to like get in touch with them somehow and like help out in some way because it was like my baby.
Yeah.
And I was also part of Teach, which I also really liked. It was helping some like underserved elementary school students as like an after school program, tutoring them, providing health modules. So it's really good.
Those are two separate things. Why did I think those are the same thing?
It's all kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician because I really liked helping the youth because I think helping the youth is going to help our future. So I did that, and then I don't know. I don't remember the rest, but I'm sure I did other stuff. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing what your MCAT score was?
My MCAT score. So when I took it, it was like newly the 500s, the 400, 500 system before it was like a 2-digit thing, but I got a 516.
First try.
I don't know how. I am terrible at studying.
I remember she bought like a full set of books.
Yeah.
I don't think you even got like a third of the way in.
No. But luckily, it was like on the actual test, it was stuff I had, like 20% I studied was on the test. Like, it was truly like a miracle. I think,
I don't know how you did that.
There's certain milestones within my like undergraduate and like medical school career was like, this is the end, I'm going to give up. And that was one of them. I was like, okay, if I get a bad score on this is where I call it quits.
Yeah.
And then nope. The powers that be were like, you need to push on and involve in this toxic relationship.
Oh my God, I remember you were extremely worried about the physics section.
Yeah.
Because what's crazy is that the MCAT has a physics section, which is like if you really, really think about it, it makes sense because, everything is physics. But like, just the fact that there's like a physics section and it's not like for an engineering job, I was like, what?
Luckily, I don't have too much physics in my test.
That's crazy.
That's why I did well.
What was your worst section and your best section?
So the worst section was the chemistry physics. It was just, I don't know, it just never made sense to me. Never. Like electricity, I still think to this day, EP doctors, which are like the electrophysiology doctors that like determine the arrhythmias of your heart and diagnose and treat those, I think they're one of the smartest doctors in the hospital because I just simply do not understand.
I mean, those are true.
How that works.
Like experts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're talking like these are, engineers, like whatever, like they do whatever.
No, but the radiologists, the people who read X-rays, CTs, MRIs, they also have physics on their boards.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I think with like magnetic, I don't know.
No, it makes sense. Everything in the body is still physics and chemistry. It's not like it only applies to buildings. It's like literally everything is physics. So. Yeah.
Hence why I guess they test because in that way. And then my best section, ironically, was the cars section.
What is the cars?
It's like English literature comprehension. I don't know, and like grammar and stuff. Like I was always stronger on like the humanities, liberal arts.
Yeah.
Like I think even my SATs, my best scores were like the writing essay, that section. It just like makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Whereas like the actual science sections, I have to study more. But yeah, I got a 516. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Also, the MCAT is a 8-hour test, right?
I don't remember.
It's like many, many hours you're stuck in a room. Yeah. I think you have like 30 minutes to eat lunch in between, but it's a lengthy test.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention earlier. During medical school, we also have something called the board exams, which are consisting of step 1, which honestly, such a bad test. Like
STEP is part of boards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were separate.
Step 1 is they ask all these like niche questions.
Yeah. Is it also like a written test?
No, it's like multiple choice, but it's like 8 hours or like something like that. 6, 7, 8 hours, something like that. Oh my God. And then you have a step 2, CS, which is like multiple choice again, but it's more like clinical. So that's why I tested better on those because it just made sense to me and I saw it happening in real life. And then there used to be a step 2 CK, clinical knowledge or something like that, where it was like in person, like
Interview type?
not interview type, like you had to like perform a like physical exam on a standardized patient.
Yeah.
And like diagnose them.
Like a
and
demo
all of that.
almost.
Yeah, like a actual like
role play.
Yeah, role play kind of test. But they got rid of it. I think in the time of COVID, they're like, this is. I think that's when they got rid of it.
Ooh.
Like this is not it. You cannot do this.
Yeah.
And then, so like to kind of prepare for all this, we used to have things like OSCEs, which are like standardized like clinical examination tests throughout medical school, where we had to like, I don't know, interview patients and like do certain things.
What's the frequency of that?
It depends on the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but ours was like every like couple months or so. Yeah, within the first 2 years.
That's intense.
Yeah, and then step 3 is taken during your first year or second year or I guess third year, but mostly people take it during their first year of residency.
So you could choose.
Yeah, you can choose.
Okay.
You just have to do it before
you end your residency.
Yeah, and then you're done with the steps. But then once you're done with like residency, you have to take your like licensing exam, your actual boards.
And that's what
for your
people
specialty.
Traditionally call boards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think all of them are kind of called. You kind of have to pass all of them to be board certified and progress to the next step.
Are these all pass, no pass, or is there like a grading system?
So step 1 for me was a grading system. There was like a number system, but now it's pass fail. Step 2 is graded, so there's like a number. Step 3, there you get a number, but it's pass fail.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a lot of tests.
It's a lot of tests. It's a lot of evaluations because, as I mentioned, during your third year and your sub-Is, you get a grade for each clerkship and sub-I that you do. And it's for us, the third year was like a pass-fail system, luckily. But for some people, it's like a fail, pass, high pass, like honors
Basically
system.
just A, B, C.
Yeah, and it's different by each medical school.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty good segue into the next section. So I did order it cons and then pros just to end it on kind of a better note. But when it comes to the cons of pursuing medicine, like what's kind of the thing that gave you the hardest time, and like what's the thing that like gave you the most anxiety? Because like I would assume that like all these tests and evaluations like would give you some sort of anxiety attack.
Yeah.
But in your opinion, like what's kind of like the hardest thing about pursuing this?
There's a lot of cons. I mean, my sister knows. I bitch about this all the time. And if you talk to anybody in healthcare, not just like doctors, if you talk to like our nursing colleagues, our PA colleagues, I don't know, everybody, healthcare is tough. You meet people at their worst, okay? When somebody's dying of cancer and they're suffering the consequences and you're there to tell them you're dying, you need to go comfort care, like it's not fun. So it's tough, and people are angry at you. People are sad, and like you're sad or angry. It's a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
But I think one is like the very much like delayed gratification. You're training for so long. Like I am almost 30, and I'm not an attending. Granted, part of this was my doing, but like I could have been an attending right like next year and would have been making good money, but
yeah, but even like considering your friend or like surgical residents, like I think you're still on somewhat of a fast track.
Yeah.
So which is crazy.
Yeah, like it's just delayed gratification. The thing is like you're training for all this long. You're accruing so much debt. Like medical school is not cheap. Like I tend to be on the like lower side of debt than people
Because of scholarships?
because of like I went to a state, my home state's institution. I got some financial aid, etc. And I have nearly $200,000 in debt. I haven't checked recently because I'm scared, but like I think it's like 200,000
I'd
now.
be scared too.
Yeah, because like as you're training, like the interest accrues, and you're just like, oh my God, so much debt. Some people have like $500,000 in debt by the time they're done. And the thing is, like physicians' wages have not changed much throughout the years, and it's a lot of hard work, and honestly, like I think we are underpaid. Like hot take, but I think we are underpaid.
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
for like, I think even as an attending, I think we're underpaid.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
the
yeah.
amount of schooling, the amount of debt we've, you know, accrued throughout the years, how much sacrifice we had to give. I don't think we're paid enough for what we do.
Yeah. No, even as a resident. What do you mean?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
100%. Like, as a resident, I don't think anyone kind of argues with us
Yeah.
that we're underpaid. I mean,
Yeah.
some people would say, oh, but you're still in training. Yeah, but we're working like full 80, 100-hour
It's
jobs.
still a
and-
job. You're still doing a job.
Yeah, and like arguably, like our PA and NP colleagues don't have to do any sort of like a lot of them don't do any of this like residency
Yeah.
work, and they get paid considerably more, as they should, for the same work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid six figures in a lot of places for the same work that we do, and they work like 3 days a week. A lot of them, we work 6 days out of 7 when we're on. Sometimes doing 36s, sometimes doing 24s, etc. So yeah, I think the delayed gratification is rough. I think when people say, don't go into this if you're interested in making money, and that is 100% true, because you will not be making that much money for the amount of sacrifice you have to do. I see my friends going on like great vacations where as I'm like
Me
stuck
included.
in the hospital working nights and being yelled at. Like,
Yeah.
it is not fun. And like you miss, like a lot of residencies have focused more on well-being now, and they try to help people go to big life events, but it is hard. You will work holidays. You will not have a vacation, like a summer vacation like you did during school. And I guess, I mean, most working people don't. But, like,
Yeah.
it's, like, the flexibility is not there. You're always under somebody's, like, control for a very long time during residency. Like, your time is not your time a lot of the times. And I think that's the hardest thing. And the thing is, like, during all of this, the anxieties are so real. So I think if you have, severe mental health issues, you really need to think about, would this career help that? And I don't think that's the case. Because it puts you in such a circumstance to such extremes. Like, you're physically tired, you're emotionally drained, and you're not getting paid or
Yeah.
fed. My friend is already very skinny, and she lost even more weight because she's just not eating.
There's no time.
Yeah, there's just no time. And she's like pulled in so many directions. They've run studies on this. Like, one resident does the work of like 4 or 5 PAs and NPs.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And we do it for like a fraction of their pay. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
like, it's just like,
So thankless.
yeah, it's a thankless job. And yes, we get paid good money compared to the average population. Yes, we will be comfortable for the most part.
Later.
Yeah. And there is stability, like we will always have jobs. And I think that's probably what drew me to this profession, the stability of this job, decent money, etc. But that can't be the only one that pulls you through, because this job is just so challenging.
Yeah.
And like there's such delayed gratification. And then a big part of it also, if you are a good person, I guess, and you're in it for the right reasons, it's an emotional battle. You're constantly being compared to other people, constantly being evaluated, constantly having to study for tests and studying for things outside of your actual work hours. These tests are endless, and each test is so expensive. Like, the steps are each like a couple $100 to $1,000 each. The test prep courses are also like a couple $100, like so expensive each step of the way. Medical school applications cost me like $1,000 or $2,000. Like, residency applications, fellowship applications cost me like hundreds of dollars.
All out of pocket.
Yeah, all out of pocket. There's no like real funding for any of this.
Yeah. And you're already in debt.
Yeah, and you're already in debt.
Yeah. And like, thank God, because you did not have debt going into med school because we both had FAFSA. But imagine if like we were, I don't know, lower middle class or something, and we had to pay for undergrad. Like,
that's even more debt.
More debt.
Yeah. So yeah, you're just constantly being evaluated with your peers, with other people, like with test scores, etc. So like, the anxieties will always be there, just being like, you constantly have to try to perform your best.
Yeah.
And also, like, the big picture also, like, you need to do your best because of your patients. Like, people's lives are at stake. If I, like, fuck up something and, like, cause patient harm, which has happened, okay?
Yeah.
And it will happen to everybody. Like, some other people's mistakes are not costly, but for us, it carries a huge weight. And, like, I talk about this with my friend in surgery, too.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's very cruel because in order for us to become good physicians, we need to make these mistakes. But these mistakes are so costly. And you have to, like, deal with that. So it's emotionally just very draining because you're scared to make any mistakes. And then you're also
Yeah.
sometimes put in these impossible situations. Like from our institution, we do this 1 week rotation where we're taking care of cancer patients for a whole week of nights by ourselves. And like there is a hospital list, but sometimes they're not very available. Like I had an incident where we had a code blue, and a code blue is when somebody has a cardiac arrest. And I watched this happen in front of my eyes, and like the hospitalist was not available at the time. And I was an intern. This is like an intern year rotation. And I was pacing because I just like didn't know what to do. And like, thank God for like my nursing colleagues because they were helping me out and kind of running the whole code until the ICU got there. But like you're put into these situations that no one else is put into, and you get traumatized. Like there are so many times where I wake up in the middle of the night like sweating because I'm like having nightmares about some of these things.
Yeah.
And it gets better because you just get put into these traumatic events enough and you learn.
Experience.
Yeah.
But that's like some experience you
Yeah,
get.
to build that experience, you have to get traumatized.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
So you have to be strong mentally to get here.
Yeah.
You just have to be. And like I'm in one of the more like less like imagine the surgeons.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how anyone, this is a big part of why I didn't go into surgery because their mistake in the OR is so costly.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to
Literally like life.
Yeah.
Like you're playing God here.
Exactly. Like that one physician who took out a freaking liver instead of the spleen.
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, granted, that's truly heinous. I don't know how that happened.
That's like you skip something.
Yeah. But like, it's just, like, we deal with such impossible things.
Yeah.
And it's just so draining.
It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Like, okay, think about it. Firstly, it's a job. So you have to deal with just the stress of a job, right? And that includes everything from poor management, just seniors being mean to you, and like you don't like your peers. Like all that still happens within the hospital, right? But then the job itself is also like, there's so much pressure around it. And then, so there's both of those things. So the job itself is, I don't want to say it's a great job, but like, it's like terrible for the mind. Normal job stuff, bad for the mind. And then you're working hella hours and you're not getting sleep. And so you're already in a state where you cannot take all of that. And then you're pushed even further.
Exactly.
So like truly you're like pushed
to the extremes. Yeah. And then they wonder they're like, why are you so burned out? Or like, why do you have depression? Why do you have anxiety? And then the thing is like, we sometimes get punished, even though they put us in these impossible situations where you can't help but develop these mental health disorders.
You're not allowed to be sad.
Yeah, like and it's true. Like, for example, some states require doctors to report their mental health conditions.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of us also have to get disability insurance, especially like, because this is the only job that we know for a lot of us, like, that we know how to do. So if something happens to us and we can't do this job, like it's very costly.
Yeah.
So they all encourage us to get disability insurance. But disability insurance requires you to tell them about these mood disorders, and sometimes they deny you.
Yeah.
For having depression, anxiety, etc.
Yeah.
And so like in a way I feel like I'm getting punished for something, for having a mental health disorder, despite being in these situations that forces you to have these mental health disorders.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
But do you think that's like necessarily unreasonable?
Yes. Because people like yes, if you're like admitted to the hospital for these and stuff, like maybe that is an issue, but like, you know, if you have like just
mild anxiety
or whatever, and you just need your antidepressant, like whatever.
It really is unfair. But you know, these corporations, which a hospital is a corporation, they have, I would say, majority of the patients and patients' mothers and stuff, these are all people that are like, I don't want a doctor that has anxiety, you know what I mean? Like, and so like, that's why they're rejecting people for having mild things like that. So it is really unfair, but in my head, I'm like, maybe there's some
right. And I don't know, even if you were like admitted or whatever, like, I feel like people, because you're put into these impossible situations, deserve like a second chance, you know? Like,
yeah, totally.
So there's like, the cons are very strong. Like, you really have to be sure that this is what you want to do and that you're willing to deal with this much sacrifice and this much trauma in order to do this job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even from a bystander, because I am somewhat of a bystander to like what you're doing, I have literally, like, you have told me many times what you do, but I still don't really get it. And so like, to the bystander, I'm like, I don't think I'll ever know like how hard it is.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't know what she does.
No, but like, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but what I was trying to get at was, as a bystander, even I can see that it's a really, really tough job. Yeah. And I think anyone can see that. Yeah. So, total respect. But
yeah, and then like, I feel like the general public, and hopefully opinions are changing, but I feel like we as doctors, which I like understand to some degree, but they expect us to be these moral high grounds. And they expect certain things just because we're in the position of being a doctor. So like, they're like, oh, like, of course you're supposed to like deal with us yelling at you because you're a doctor. You're this is what you get paid to do. And it's like, no, we don't get paid to be treated not as a human being. And I get it. Like, people are angry and grieving and panicked, and you know, we like, now I'm not as phased, but that should not be the default, and that's not what should be expected. But I feel like the general public, because we're doctors and supposedly held to a higher moral ground, like they think that we're supposed to just take it. I've had a literal patient tell us, like,
you're supposed to just take it.
Yeah, you're just supposed to just take it.
Wow, how entitled.
Yeah.
Ugh. So if you're a patient at a hospital, please treat your doctors and nurses and anybody that takes care of you with respect. Especially the nurses, because they obviously go through very long hours and are doing very difficult things and make difficult decisions every day. So definitely, like, treat them with a little bit more humanity. And a little bit more respect, because they do know what they're doing. Don't question that, please. I mean,
for the most part, there's bad doctors out there. There's bad nurses out there,
and if it's clear that they're doing a very, very bad job, I think you'll know. But
most of us are in your best interest. Okay, we truly like my peers, etc. Like, I don't know anyone that truly doesn't care and that like won't go out of their way to advocate for you, etc. Like, it might not be as like something you see tangibly, but there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do to advocate for you guys. So
what do you think about, it's kind of a random question, but what do you think about the people that come to the hospital and are like, but I looked up online and like, I think I have this, and like, they tell you that you're wrong, or like, you know, what do you think about those patients?
So I think every patient has a right to look up things on Google. I look up things on Google too. Okay, behind the scenes, we use our online encyclopedia Up to Date. That's like our thing that we use. We look things up all the time, because there's just so much medical knowledge out there.
Guys, don't be worried if you see your doctor looking up things. Because everybody does that.
And you know, I think everyone has a right to do that and advocate for themselves. And like sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But if you're like overly antagonistic
Yeah.
and use that and like anchor on that when we're trying to explore other reasons for your symptoms, I think that's when it becomes a problem. Like, I don't know, when a plumber comes to my house and like does their thing, I just don't know anything about plumbing, so I don't really
Yeah.
question what they do. And I think we swung too much on that other end where like because they have such access to such information, like they think they have the same level of education
Yeah.
that we do. Because like, you know, there's people out there like asking for XYZ labs and like, you know, all these different tests. Like people want like full body MRIs and stuff like that. But like you have to understand that like incidental things can always be found.
Yeah.
And that comes with a cost. Like unnecessary biopsies that can cause nerve damage, can cause damage to other structures and cause a bigger problem when it was nothing at all. Like things like that. So I think if it's like a shared thing where like you're like, hey doctor, what do you think about this? And like, you know, you're very friendly about it. And
Again, it's just respect.
Yeah,
It's
and-
just like how you approach that conversation.
right. Exactly.
And how you are receptive to the
Yeah.
doctor's comments about it. Because if
Exactly.
the doctor is saying like, no, that's not a good idea because it's going to cause like X, Y, and Z like side effects or
Yeah.
whatever, or like, no, like I don't think it's a good use of like time or money or something
Yeah.
like that, then you have to believe them because they have a lot of contextual knowledge that you just don't have and won't get online.
Exactly.
And a lot of it, like, and I think a lot of it is also, I don't want to say gut feel, but it's just like all this kind of,
like experience.
yeah,
and-
experience that isn't like
Yeah.
at the forefront of their mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm all for patients educating themselves and advocating for themselves. You know, I love it when my patients are very medically literate.
Yeah.
But
Don't get argumentative.
yeah, exactly. I think it's an issue of like how you approach it, like with either
Yeah.
respect or being just overtly like distrustful and antagonistic, then it just sets everyone off
Yeah.
on the wrong foot.
And if you are truly convinced that you have a certain something, then
Yeah.
I think it's your job to respectfully push for that. Instead of like, be like, no, you're a terrible doctor. I'm going to go somewhere
exactly.
else, you know? Because I don't think that's ever a good idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like I think also something that people don't understand as much these days, especially in like big institutions like mine, the doctors don't have too much power. At least the ones that are like working for you. Like they're like complaining of like systems things. Like, oh my God, like why
Managerial
is this like why did it take me so long to come to my room from the ED? And it's like
That's not their under their
I couldn't do anything about it. I'm so sorry. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just systems things that, you know, and that's when I encourage my patients. I'm like, oh, you have complaints? Talk to the patient advocates.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll you know, influence some change.
Yeah. Guys, hospital is still a corporation. It's still a
Yeah.
it's still a company.
Yeah.
So
The big, you know,
there's
the
gonna
CEO
be-
makes
yeah.
millions of dollars while we make less than minimum wage. So
and there's still going to be, you know, issues with electronic systems and
Yeah.
there's all of that still. So
yeah.
just be patient.
Yeah.
And people are sick all the time, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
people to deal with.
And like I get it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Being in the ED for like over a day. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
They
It's-
want to help you too, as
Yeah.
fast as possible.
Yeah. It's just sometimes it's just impossible. Yeah.
And you guys have to believe that doctors are in your best interest because if they weren't, I don't think they'd be working this job.
No.
They wouldn't go through all of this just to be like, I don't really care about the patients. You know what I mean? Like,
once again, there's bad doctors, bad
Yeah.
nurses, bad healthcare staff. Okay, I'm not discrediting that, but you know, for the most
Yeah.
part, we do want to help.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you just got to be, I guess, like emotionally intelligent enough to like figure that out.
Yeah.
So, cool. Kind of swinging more into the pros. With all these cons aside, what keeps you going?
I think I like my job for the most part. You know, I bitch about it all the time, but like it's intellectually stimulating enough. Like I am not bored usually at my job. It's very interesting. Disease pathologies, etc. Also, like some of the bonds that I form with my patients is very special. Especially, I do work at a VA setting, and I love my veterans. I often see them like on a 6-month basis or so, and you do develop a really close bond, and they trust you. And and whatnot. And when you do have those like, aha, I diagnosed those moments, those house MD moments, like it does feel good. And like I'm like always learning, and I really like that.
Every day is different.
Yeah, every day's different. Every day you're learning. There's so much to learn. Medicine is constantly evolving, constantly figuring new things out, new medications, etc. And so the opportunities to learn and the opportunities to teach the new generations is also very exciting. So overall, it's a very rewarding job.
Highs are high.
The highs are high,
low.
the lows are very low. But I think generally I like it enough, and you know, I don't think I can see myself doing anything else at this point of my career. But yeah, the lows are very low, and I really want to warn people that it's many times I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are pursuing it and you're going through it, you will see your lowest point.
Yeah.
You think you've seen it? No. You haven't.
Yeah. Like people get ill from this job.
Oh yeah. Stress will kill you.
Like there's studies that show that our like telomeres are shorter than everyone else. Physician suicide rates are much higher than the general population. So mental health is a big thing, and once again, I'm not surprised given our working conditions.
I think everything in doctorhood, not everything, but a lot of doctorhood works against your mental health.
Yeah, exactly.
Directly.
And you know, if you're not into customer service, because honestly, a lot of this is customer service at one point, and I don't want to label patients as customers, but sometimes they present themselves as customers. They're like, I'm paying for this. It's
you know those people that complain about their food at a restaurant and make a big deal about it? You're going to meet the same people in a hospital.
Exactly, and 10 times worse because you're so ill. So you have to be prepared for that, to have customer service skills and, you know, buckle up for all of that.
So do you think the best thing about your job and in general for doctors is like the relationship, like the fulfillment of like taking care of patients?
Yeah, I think so. And I think just how interesting everything is.
Yeah.
I think the human body is very, very interesting, and all the diseases, and it's very exciting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Especially as like new medications come out, new procedures, etc. I think it's like an ever-growing, evolving field. So it's exciting to be part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited for you too. No, it's really cool to have a sister that is a doctor. I literally go around meeting new people being like, I have a sister, she's a doctor. So obviously I brag about her a lot.
Me too.
But
my engineer sister.
Yeah, but you have no idea what I do.
No.
It's really hard. Engineers, it's because they do different things that you just never know what they do. But today is about doctorhood, not engineer. So kind of to wrap this up, do you have any last words of advice for someone who is like thinking about pursuing or currently pursuing?
You know, it would be run. But I think the biggest advice is like you really have to be prepared to make a lot of sacrifices. And that is an understatement. Like, truly, there's like a grieving period that happens to many people.
About their life?
About their life. You truly, your 20s are taken away. If you're going in that traditional route, your 20s are taken away by this.
I think your 30s as well.
And a good chunk of my 30s. Because even if you start as an attending, like as a junior faculty or whatever, life is still hard.
Yeah.
Life
think about it. It's a job. The first years of any job are tough. And doctor even more so. Yeah. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
like you don't take care of yourself during training, especially.
Yeah.
You're not eating as much. You're not working out as much. Or you're eating bad things, going against all the advice you give your patients. And then a lot of people go through like relationship issues and stuff like that. So
it's really a wonder how people still have like kids while they do resident. Because some people are growing families at the same time, and now you're just like,
I don't know how they do it.
I apparently am not strong enough.
No. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I think it went super well. I don't know how you felt about that. So, yeah, like I said, tomorrow we are going to Disneyland. Yeah! Despite us being engineer, doctor, we're still children. So, we're going to Disneyland, and I will likely film a vlog about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
She's my I'm very proud of her. Like I said, it's really cool. I think just going around being like, yeah, she's a doctor. But yeah, so anyone that's preparing, because I personally have three friends that are pursuing
I warned them.
medical school / so two of them are in medical school, one is pursuing. You guys know who you are. So I think this will be a lot of good food for thought. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again for the But It's Not That Serious podcast. I think this one's going to be a really, really popular episode, hopefully as much as the engineering one, because that episode actually has like 400 views.
Whoa.
By who? I don't know.
Wow.
But
all the
that
aspiring
one,
engineers.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, so, since a lot of the medfluencers are quitting medicine,
She hasn't quit yet.
Yeah, I haven't quit yet. I'm still in this toxic relationship.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Okay.
I'll see you guys next time. Bye.